I see that thought is responsible for my confusion. Yet, in going into it more thoughtfully, more thought is generated, and there is no end to it. Please comment. I see that thought is responsible for my confusion. And yet, in going into it, more thought is generated, and there is no end to it. Please comment on it. Thought is associated with other thoughts. Right? There is no single thought. It's a series of movements which we call thinking. Right? I think about my shoes, then how to keep them clean. I polish them, which I do. I look after things, and so on. So thought by itself cannot exist. Right? By itself, without all the associations in connection with that one thought. And thought is a movement on which we live. It's the very life of us, thinking. Right? It's so obvious. You couldn't be there, and the speaker couldn't be here if we hadn't thought about it. We've thought about it because there's been associations previous, reputation books and all the blah, and you come and I come. The speaker comes. So there is no single thought by itself. This is important to uncover this. It's always in relation to something else. And in pursuing one thought, other thoughts arise. And the speaker is polishing his shoes and looks out of the window. And he sees those mountains. And he's off. J'attends. And he has to come back and polish his shoes. So that goes on all the time, right? I want to concentrate on something, and the thought shoots off in another direction. I pull it back and try to concentrate. This goes on all the time, from childhood till we die. And the more I think about thought, the more thought there is. I shouldn't think along those lines. I must think rightly. Is there right thinking? Is there wrong thinking? Is there purposeful thinking? What is the purpose of my life? And so on. The whole process of thinking begins. And there is no end to it. It has done the most extraordinary things. Technologically, it has done the most appalling things, terrifying things. It has built all the rituals of every religion and it has tortured human beings, right? It has expelled people from one part of the world to another, and so on, so on. Thought, whether Eastern or Western thinking, is still thinking. It's not Eastern thinking and Western thinking, two separate things, because thought is the thread. Right? We are together. So, the question is there an end to thought? Not your way of thinking or my way of thinking. Or saying we're all thinking together, we're all moving in the same direction. So we are asking whether thought can ever stop. Which is there an end to time? Which is, thinking is the result of knowledge, memory. To acquire knowledge, I need time, or needs time. Even the computer, which is so extraordinarily modern, the modern computer, you have to give it a split second before it gallops out what it wants to say. So thought is time, right? So when we are asking whether thought can ever end, we're also asking at the same time whether there is the stop to time. It's a rather interesting question if we go into it. That is, the movement of time. Time, what does that mean to us? Not only psychologically, but outwardly. Sunset, sunrise, learning a language, so on and so on. You need time to go from here to there. Even on the most fastest train, it's time to get here, there, or aeroplane and so on. So, as long, rather, please follow this, as long as there is a distance between between what is and what might be, what I am, what I will be, that's a distance. It may be a very short distance or centuries of distance. That distance can only be covered by time. So, time implies evolution, right? You plant a seed in the earth, it takes a whole season to mature, grow, or 1,000 years to become a tree and be full, right? Everything that grows needs time, right? Everything. So time and thought, they are not two separate movements. They are one solid movement. And we're asking whether thought and time have an end, a stop. You understand me? I said I wouldn't say it, I won't say it. How will you find out? This has been one of the problems confronting man from the beginning of man. Right? He's asked this question. Can all time come to an end? Because he's asked it in this movement of time. It's a circle, right? Time is a bondage. The hope, I hope that can cause time. So man has asked this question. Not if there is timelessness, but rather if there is an end to time. You understand the difference? Right? Shall we cry together? So this is really a very serious question. Poor mother. We are not inquiring into the timeless. We are inquiring whether time has a stop, which is thought. Now, how will you discover that? Through analysis? Through so-called intuition? That word intuition may be most dangerous. It may be my desire. We were saying that word intuition may be the most dangerous word. That word has been used so much. There are so many valleys in Switzerland. Why this one especially? The speaker once saw in California 10 aeroplanes. The sun had set, 10 aeroplanes coming over the hills with their exhaust, whatever they call it, I've forgotten the name of it for the moment, lit by this setting sun. It was the most beautiful sight. The whole sky was lit up. There wasn't noise. They were just coming over the mountain. We were saying that the word intuition is a rather risky word because it may be our hidden desire. It may be our unconscious, deeply rooted motive of which we are not aware. It may be the prompting of our own tendency, our own idiosyncrasy. Maybe it's our own particular accumulation of knowledge. So we're asking, if you put all that aside, has time a stop? And we're asked, how will you find out? You, not speak or anybody else, because what others say has no importance. You may like the sound of words, you may like the person, or you may say, well, a whole group of us are together. All that is rather infantile. But when you put this question to yourself, in what manner do you come to find out? So we have to inquire very, very deeply into the nature of time, which we did during the last few talks. And also we went very deeply into the nature of thinking. So can all that come to an end? Or is it a gradual process? You understand? If it is a gradual process, the very gradualness is time. So it cannot be gradual, right? It cannot be eventually. It cannot be next second either. You understand? It cannot be next weekend or tomorrow or a few minutes later. All that allows time. If one really grasps all that, deeply comprehends the nature of thought, nature of time, discipline, the art of living and so on, to stay with it quietly, not cover it up by all kinds of movements, but stay with it. Then then there is a glimpse of it, an insight into it, which is not related to memory or nothing. Right? Find out. The speaker can easily see, yes, there is. Like too childish. But for the brain to understand its own movement, unless we experiment, you understand? Not just say yes, yes, or agree, unless we actually investigate, experiment, push it, go into it deeply. Unless you do that, you can't come up with a strange sense of timelessness